Welcome back, folks, to WrestleRant. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and we're wrapping up the reviews of Survivor Series this weekend. Today I'm talking about Survivor Series 2013. Tomorrow it's 2014. And then starting on Tuesday, we're off to the Royal Rumble reviews for the remainder of the road to the Royal Rumble in late January. It's going to be exciting as all hell. What wasn't exciting as all hell, unfortunately, was this show. This was my first time watching it back since it happened 2 years ago. It was the last pay-per-view, unfortunately, that I watched at Buffalo Wild Wings Live in November of 2013, obviously. Just not a good show. Probably one of my least favorite pay-per-views of all time. And that year in wrestling wasn't bad. I mean, it was kind of lackluster, but that fall was absolutely awful. You think now is bad. You thought last year was bad. I thought nothing would beat 2013. 2013 was just downright atrocious from about maybe September to maybe December or January. Even the road to WrestleMania wasn't really that good until WrestleMania just superseded all expectations. But this Survivor Series, we had a bad Night of Champions, a bad Hell in the Cell, a bad Battleground. I just thought Survivor Series was one of the worst of them all. We had a great opener. We'll start right there. I mean, the pre-show match, I'll just kind of talk about that briefly. I mean, I watch all of these pay-per-views back on the WWE Network. This match is not available on the network itself. You could probably find it on YouTube somewhere. I'm sure WWE has it on their channel. The Miz and Kofi Kingston, really good match for the 8 minutes they were given. Miz won clean. This was in the midst of his quote-unquote heel turn before officials found out he was in Christmas Bounty and they wanted to keep him a babyface for the movie. They completely screwed over his character, but it was a good match. That's not on the network version, though, so you're going to have to skip over that. On the actual pay-per-view, though, opening the show was a 5-on-5 traditional Elimination Survivor Series tag team match, pitting Team Shield, Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns, and the Real Americans, Antonio Cesaro and Jack Swagger, against Cody Rhodes, Goldust, the Usos, and Rey Mysterio, who had just returned on Raw days earlier. So like I said, a great opener in my personal opinion. The best thing, the only good thing in the entire show. The baby faces, it was 5-2 at one point, and then Dean Ambrose, who was the U.S. champion at that time, and a lot of people completely forgot about his reign because he never defended the belt. But anyway, he was the first one eliminated, and from there it was both of the Real Americans, and then it was down to Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins against the rest of the baby faces. They quickly cleaned house. Roman Reigns got rid of two guys. Rollins got rid of somebody. It was down 2-2. I'm pretty sure Rhodes eliminated Rollins via roll-up. I'm pretty sure it was Rhodes. I'm not exactly sure. It might have been somebody else. But then Reigns, when it was either 4-1 or 3-1, I forgot what the exact number was or what the order of the eliminations, Reigns took out everybody, lastly eliminating Rey Mysterio to win the match for his team as the sole survivor, completely overcoming the odds and becoming the sole survivor in this match. So a great opener. Roman Reigns came out of this thing looking like an absolute freaking beast and a total star. And just the reaction he received in this match and then again at the Rumble, it's just amazing to see how far, not how far he's fallen, but just how the reaction to him has changed in the last year or two. You know, I mean, now he's being booed out of the building, and at this exact same pay-per-view 2 years later, he would be not booed out of the building. The fans are kind of, partial to Roman Reigns in, not in Tampa, wherever the pay-per-view was in this year's Survivor Series. I completely forgot. But, Atlanta, excuse me. But, the reaction to him on that show a couple weeks ago compared to what it was in 2013 is just mind-boggling, and it really goes to show, in my personal opinion, that I feel like he would benefit from a heel run right now as opposed to continuing on the force-fed babyface push. But that's another topic for another day. But still, a great showing here from Roman Reigns, who might as well have eliminated all 5 guys, not just 4 of them. I'm pretty sure he tied the record with somebody else. I forgot who it was from a previous year, but they might as well have had him shatter the record like they did to the Rumble a couple months later by having him just eliminate everybody, and known as the only man in history to eliminate all 5 guys in the opposite team. But anyway, very good opener. After that, for the Intercontinental Championship, a rematch from Raw Country. Big E Langston successfully defending his Intercontinental Championship against Curtis Axel. A fine match. They were only given about 5 minutes. I thought the match on Raw Country was a lot more exciting, maybe just because of the prospect of a title change, and you knew a week later Axel had no chance in hell of regaining the gold. It was all right. People just didn't really care. Big E won clean afterwards, cut a cheesy promo about how the Boston Red Sox were awesome or whatever it was, just kind of a cheesy babyface promo. And I never really thought Big E clicked as much of a babyface as he probably should have with the whole 5-count gimmick, which I was shocked as all hell they never brought to the main roster, considering how over it was in NXT. And I mean, just because it was over in NXT doesn't necessarily, the success will not necessarily translate to the main roster, but they never even tried it out, which was mind-boggling to me. And now he's over, now more than ever a part of the New Day, but still, A fine match. No one really gave a shit about it, but it was fine for what it was. After that, a traditional Diva Survivor Series elimination tag team match, pitting it's a 7-on-7 women tag team match, pitting the Total Divas, Natalya, the Bella Twins, the Funkadactyls, JoJo and Eva Marie, against the team of True Divas, AJ Lee, Tamina Snuka, Caitlyn, Alicia Fox, Summer Rae, Rosa Mendez, and Oksana. Which is funny to note here is that a couple of these women would end up on Total Divas. AJ Lee is gone, Caitlyn's gone, Tamina's not an official part of the cast, but she is on the show alongside Naomi. Summer Rae was on the show for a while. Rosa Mendez is on the show. Oksana's gone from the company. Alicia Fox is on the show too. So just to see how the tables have turned in the last couple of years. But the match was every bit as atrocious as you would probably imagine. I mean, there are some good workers in here, like Natalya and Alicia Fox and AJ Lee, but they just weren't really given the time of day. I don't even think AJ Lee was even in the match for the most part. She didn't really come in until toward the end when she got taken out by Nikki and Natalya. And that was about it. Every other elimination was quick. It was fast-paced. And the terrible workers were in there. Oksana, Eva Marie, JoJo, who had no in-ring experience, got demolished by Tamina. Thank God they didn't have her pin Tamina. Not like it would have mattered too much anyway, but it was what it was. Caitlyn had a decent showing. She got rid of 2 women, and then she got taken out, which was a real shame. She was gone from the company a month and a half later. But the match was a total train wreck in every terrible way possible. Just no one gave a crap. The whole promotion for the Total Divas show by this point was sickening. And this is coming from someone who, at that point in time, and still to this day, is a fan of the Total Divas show. I still watch it, but just the fact that we're shoving the promotion of the show down our throats was just asinine, and no one accepted it, and that's what made this match so horrible. So a terrible match. In the end, the sole survivors were Natalya and Nikki Bella. So after that, the return of Mark Henry accepting Ryback's open challenge. The match was basically what you would expect. That it was better than the WrestleMania 29 match, which isn't really saying much. I thought that match was terrible, very disappointing. This really wasn't that much better, but it was passable, I guess is the word for it. Mark Henry won clean. After that, for the World Heavyweight Championship, John Cena defending against Alberto Del Rio. Another standard affair from these guys. It wasn't a bad match, but we have just seen them face each other so many times over the years. I just didn't care. And it was so obvious that Cena was going to retain that I just really did not buy in the near falls at all, as much as I did at Hell in a Cell even. So it was a good match. Probably not one of their better matches, just because I thought, their match at Hell in a Cell was quote-unquote more exciting, and just the ending outcome was never in doubt. Del Rio, by this point, they just went on to do nothing with him. He left the world title picture and immediately went down to absolute, just complete irrelevancy. He lost to Sin Cara a couple times on Raw, and it was off Raw for a couple weeks. It wasn't even at TLC. He was a throwaway guy in the Rumble, and in Chamber he got fed to Batista. Just his last year in WWE was awful before he left, and why he's back, I mean, obviously for the money, but just creatively, I feel like creative is nothing for him other than his run as U.S. champion, and the whole Mex America thing is just terrible. Anyway, it was a decent match from Cena and Del Rio. I just didn't really care because the ending outcome was never really in doubt, and it was just kind of the same old from these two guys. I can point to at least 5 other matches that were better than this one. The Hell in a Cell match, the one they had at a couple years earlier, Night of Champions, and again at Vengeance. They had a couple good matches on Raw and on SmackDown. This match was hardly anything compared to those bouts, in my opinion. So in the end, John Cena is still the World Heavyweight Champion, needless to say. After that, another tag team match, just a standard tag team affair, pitting Punk and Daniel Bryan, who were billing themselves as the best and the beard, which was clever, against the Wyatt families, Luke Harper and Eric Rowan. Pretty fun match. I thought the feud was good. I thought, at that time, I think there's a clip of it here on the channel that I put out on WrestleRant Radio, like early November of that year, going back to about 2 years or so. I'm pretty sure you can find it if you go back in the archives. But Punk and Bryan versus the Wyatt family, I thought was the best thing going in WWE at that period in time. They had a lot of good matches. I thought this match was good for what it was, not amazing. It certainly wasn't enough to save this god-awful show, but for what it was fun. I probably would have had the Wyatt family go over just because Punk was fresh off a win at Hell in a Cell. Daniel Bryan wasn't, but he wouldn't really have suffered anything here from a loss if he lost to the Wyatt family. And I mean, the Wyatt family would beat Daniel Bryan in a 3-on-1 handicap match at TLC anyway the following month, so it wasn't a completely lost cause. It wasn't a complete lost cause, but it was fine for what it was, and the outcome that was. And the match itself I thought was fun. Again, not a saving grace of the show, but it was fun for what it was. Punk and Daniel Bryan made for an awesome team. And then we get to the main event, Randy Orton defending his WWE Championship against The Big Show in a terrible match, and a WWE title match that got 11 minutes. They got less time than the other world title match between Cena and Del Rio. got less time than the tag team match that preceded it, got less time than the 5-on-5 match that kicked off the show, got less time than the freaking Divas match. That's how short this match was, and maybe that's a good thing, because these two just had no chemistry, especially with Orton as the heel and Big Show as the babyface. It would have worked a lot better the other way around. Big Show as the top babyface in 2013 just did absolutely nothing for me. I know they built up his whole rivalry against the Authority for the entire fall of 2013, but no one gave a shit. He didn't even follow up on the feud with Triple H. They did not have a match at TLC. It's like, what's the point? You know what I mean? It was a total waste of time. There's no chemistry. The crowd shat all over it. Just a couple of very sloppy looking spots. Orton in the end hitting the RKO on Big Show for the win, or after followed by a punt kick to pick up the victory as well. I forgot to mention that. But the Authority promised on Raw and on earlier in the show that there'd be no interference in any of these matches, and yet they show up on the stage anyway to distract Big Show long enough for Orton to win. Just so a complete cop out, and it was just total bullshit. Orton's still the WWE champion. Then afterwards, John Cena came down to tease a champion versus champion match, a title unification bout for the following month at TLC, which would not excite me in the slightest. I mean, I know Cena and Del Rio, or rather Cena and Orton, have had a storied rivalry, as WWE likes to tout it, in the last 5 or 6, 7, 8 years, but their matches, well, some of them have been better than others. I enjoyed their string of matches in 2009, but all the other matches I didn't really give a shit about at all. It's just that if they had not bigger players, but more people, if they had two people in that match, or a match that I could get excited about, and I know Cena and Orton were kind of like the faces of the era from 2002 onward, but it was a match we had seen a million times over, and it would have been 10 times more exhilarating, 10 times more intriguing if you had Daniel Bryan in there instead of Randy Orton, or Del Rio and Orton, or whatever it might have been. Maybe not by much, but still, I mean, anything was better than Cena and Orton for the millionth time, and it just didn't happen. Didn't happen at all, so that was kind of a shame. So a very lackluster way of going off the show. Didn't really do anything to get me excited about TLC the following month, and then just this pay-per-view as a standalone show was not good. The 5-on-5 match was fun. Punk and Bryan versus the Wyatts was fun, but everything else was a total train wreck and definitely not worth your time. The IC title match was forgettable. The Total Divas match versus True Divas match was terrible. Henry and Ryback, very forgettable, very mediocre. Cena Del Rio was, nothing compared to their previous matches, and Orton and Big Show was a total waste of time too. So do not watch this show. I know even Survivor Series is come and gone, but this show is not worth your time on the WWE Network. But what is worth your time is Survivor Series 2014, which I will be breaking down tomorrow right here on the channel. So come back to the channel tomorrow for my full review of Survivor Series 2014 as seen on the WWE Network. But in the meantime, in between time, folks, you guys can catch me on Twitter at WrestleRant, on Facebook at facebook.com/Graham.Matthews, and also right here on YouTube by liking, commenting, subscribing, and sharing this video. All support is greatly appreciated. Again, guys, tune back in tomorrow for my full review of Survivor Series 2014. Have a great rest of your weekend. I'm Graham Matthews, and I'll catch you guys down the road.